Today I will be reading Hello, My Name Is by Jason Kim, 2017. As I read, you'll notice that I'll make note of certain definitions and meanings on the right side of the screen, so please pay attention to those and follow along. Hello, My Name Is by Jason Kim. I will never forget the day I picked a new name. I was standing in front of my class on my first day of school at Craig Elementary in St. Louis, Missouri. I had, only a day before, landed at Lambert Airport after a 16-hour flight from Seoul, South Korea. I was 10 years old. I was nervous, terrified, and jet-lagged. Jet-lagged over here you can see is a term to describe when people travel rapidly across time zones or when their sleep is disrupted. This can leave a person feeling very tired. And I was wearing a vest because I thought it was chic. For my entire life, everyone, including me, had known me by my Korean name, Jun Hyuk. But here, in this new country, in a brand new classroom full of foreign faces, I had to pick a new, easy-to-pronounce American name. Jason Kim. How did I settle on Jason? Because I didn't speak any English, because my teachers didn't speak any Korean, and because it was either going to be Aladdin from my favorite childhood Disney tale or Jason from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I made a note over here that says we can infer that the only American names he knew were Aladdin and Jason, both from kids' movies or shows. I spent the next decade wanting nothing more than to look like a Larry Loberbaum or a Gary Kennedy. Over here I made a note that says we can infer that these are two classmates of his who look, quote, American, end quote, in his eyes. I still vividly remember my first time at recess, a confusing experience for several reasons, in large part because hanging off monkey bars and making each other cry during dodgeball were not educationally sanctioned activities in Asia. What was so fun about waiting in line, running up the steps, and going down a tiny slide over and over again? What was the value in sprinting after your classmate like a person with rabies, screaming, "Tag!" Why didn't anyone look, sound, or act like me? Here we see Jason struggling with his identity. We see that he feels different than everybody else around him and that it sounds like it's painful for him. I spent most days at recess sitting alone on the sidelines eating the special snack that my mother had packed. The snack, a rice cake or a piece of candy from Korea, was always accompanied by a note, usually a joke, and sometimes embellished with a drawing which often looked like an abstract painting when it was meant to be a sketch of our beloved deceased poodle. A month had passed when a teacher finally tapped me on the shoulder. "Are you okay, sweetie?" Before I could answer, another teacher rang out, "Maybe he likes sitting alone. Maybe that's the Asian way." But in truth, I wanted to participate. I wanted to run up to Timmy like a crazy person and yell, "You're it!" I just didn't know how. Outside on the playground, sitting alone at recess, I learned to hate being Asian. I wanted desperately, more than anything, to be white. I immediately forced my parents to stop calling me Jun Hyuk at home. I named myself after some guy in a live-action children's television series, and by God, they were going to call me by that name. I got rid of my fitted vest for loose-fitting basketball jerseys. I bought tickets to an Incubus concert and threw away my K-pop CDs. Over here, I made a note that K-pop, also known as Korean pop, is a musical genre originating in South Korea. It's very popular in Korea. I stopped reading Korean children's books in order to find out what the heck was going on with James and his giant peaches. This, you can see, is a reference to the popular children's story James and the Giant Peach. At the dinner table, I committed the two worst sins that a Korean son could possibly commit. I stopped speaking Korean and I stopped eating Korean food. My parents would try to talk to me over a bowl of kimchi stew, which is a traditional Korean food, and I would pout and ask in English if we could order the meat lover's pie from Pizza Hut. For my 11th birthday, my mom made me my favorite Korean dish, ojinga bokum, which is spicy stir-fried squid, and as I looked at her with disdain, I declared, "This is disgusting." The next day for dinner, she made me a cheeseburger. I promptly told her it tasted inauthentic and made her drive to McDonald's. Oh, and no more special snacks either, unless they were artificially flavored and made by Kraft. I was a heinous child. Sorry, Mom. Heinous, we can see over here, means very bad, wicked, or evil. I graduated from high school and moved to New York City for college, where my primary goal was to blend in. But more and more, my new friends wanted to know all about the things that made me uncomfortable in the Midwest. To them, being an immigrant made me interesting. At dinner parties, people would fawn over the Korean food and ask for my mom's recipes. They even wanted to know about my childhood in Seoul. And at karaoke, people were generally excited that I could sing both Girls' Generation and Natalie Imbruglia as Torn. All of a sudden, being different was an asset, not a risk. I made a note here that for the first time, we see Jason think positively about being different than those people around him. In New York, I didn't have to be ashamed about being an Asian immigrant. I could just be ashamed about everything else in my life. The year after I finished graduate school in playwriting, almost 2 decades after I landed at Lambert Airport, Lena and Jenny, who are the names of 2 show writers, cast me as an Asian American graduate student on the 4th season of Girls. Almost immediately after the episodes aired, I began receiving emails, tweets, and Facebook messages from young Asian American writers, actors, and performers who were excited to see the fellow Asian on TV. I was shocked. How could this be? I appeared on the show for like a millisecond, and my Beyoncé sweatshirt was definitely doing more work than I did on screen. It was genuinely baffling to think that anyone could look at my very Korean face and feel a sense of connection, much less react in a positive way to the very features I had hated about myself for so long. We are at the point in our culture where people are finally beginning to talk about Asian identities in the media. I have not been at the forefront of those issues. I have been crouching in the back, hiding in the corner, watching people like Margaret Cho, Daniel Dae Kim, Ali Wong, George Takei, Constance Wu, and Aziz Ansari courageously speak up about the various issues that Asian Americans face in Hollywood. All of these names are the names of very famous Asian American actors. The issues exist both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. There are barely any roles written for Asian actors, and in general, the roles that can be played by a person of any race do not tend to go to Asian actors. Worst of all, the few roles that should go to Asian actors, some very high profile, are being portrayed by white actors. Behind the camera, there are equally few Asian American writers, producers, studio executives, authors, and editors, and while there are certainly a significant number of people struggling to make it, their efforts seem to go largely unrecognized. I have been terrified of speaking up on behalf of diversity, which to me means a state of inclusion, a choice to be aware of the vast and profound range of identities in this world, including your own. I have been terrified because I grew up in a country without many visible Asian Americans in the culture, and I learned to hate every part of myself that felt foreign and strange. Unfortunately, years later, this is a problem that many young Asian Americans continue to face. How do you understand yourself in a diverse country that actively chooses to ignore your particular kind of diversity? At one point during my 20s, I took a long, dramatic look in the mirror and realized you will be Korean for the rest of your life. As a teenager growing up in the Midwest, that thought made me cringe. Now it makes me happy and deeply proud. My dream now, as a 30-year-old, is for our country to become a place where a cameo, which is a minor or short role in a movie, like mine would go completely unnoticed, and to see every 3rd grade teacher tell his or her students, "Keep your name, you don't have to change a thing." Below the story, we have words and phrase definitions of all of the words that have those little numbers following them, like this. And on the next page, you have 5 different questions to answer. Some are shorter, and then some also require the says means matters. Remember, where it says to use says means matters, you need to provide a quote, discuss what that quote means and why it matters. Take your time doing these questions. We will follow up next week during our live class and discuss these questions. And if you have any questions of your own, please don't hesitate to email me or contact me. Thank you.